Good morning, traders. Today is Monday, January 24th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. So there's no two ways about it. What we're looking at here is very bearish as the market is getting ready to open here today. We had a continuation of the downtrend on Friday with value being lower. We also had a spike lower on Friday, which was bearish to see. We also left a gap that needed backfilling. Now that we're opening below that gap, that will instantly be filled at the market open. And we've created another new gap this morning. Okay, a gap down, which is bearish. Also a gap that is this large in size is often not filled on the same day that it's created. So we may not get a gap fill at all today. So the first thing we're watching for is a counter auction to the upside. Obviously, the overnight inventory is net short. So the first thing we're looking for is for the market to start to trade higher at the open. And then where does it find resistance? Finding resistance anywhere below yesterday's low would be a gap and go, which would be bearish for further downside continuation. So that is pretty bearish. So far, gap and go. It's also worth mentioning we're in full-on bearish territory here, officially on the daily, reaching a 10% correction from the high. Currently at 10.3. It's a bear market, you know. Stairs up and elevator down. All right, so on a gap fill day, one trade that Shadow Trader talks about is going long with the pass back through the opening price at this point. And then what you would do is you would put your stop on the other side of wherever the low is at that time. So let's say the market passes back through it now. Your stop would be just below here, and you'd be going along here for the gap fill. But keep in mind, gaps these large often don't fill the same day. So proceed with caution on the gap fill play. Okay, so that was that cross back through the open. So now we're looking to see. We're looking for that counter auction to the upside. See how much of the gap they can backfill. Anywhere they get resistance, though, it is bearish for continuation lower. Value is lower. Momentum is certainly to the downside. So we're looking for the resistance in here. Good morning, Diego, Cyrus, Marco, Ronald, Philip. Ronald, some support at 10. You mean the overnight low? Sure. It's really about momentum at this point. I would say with the market having this massive of a sell-off, we are due to spend some time rotating somewhere. Let me pull that daily back up. You can see with this much excess to the downside, you would expect at some point we would spend at least a few days rotating. We could still go lower from there or find support and break, higher. But I feel like we need some rotation in here soon. So that's something I'm looking out for this week. But right now, the market is clearly trending lower. The Shah is with us. Good to see you. Welcome. Amir is here. Nor Auto Trader. Good morning. JG in the GM. Welcome back. Good to see you. J Trader. Good morning. Scooball. Welcome. All right. Well, getting a little bearish here. That was the second time they tried to push back above the opening price and got slapped down. So this is the market absorbing that overnight activity. And at the moment, there are new sellers piling on here. So this is a little bit bearish to see, on top of all the other bearishness. David Glass, good morning to you. MW, good morning. Robo Futures Trader, good morning to you. Nicholas, good morning. Jose, good to see you. Scooball, do you play gap scenario with so big gap? That's why I keep mentioning that gaps this large often don't fill. So you can play a gap fill, but just don't hold on to it too long. You know what I mean? Once it's profitable, move your stop into profits and just trail it on the way up, because it could find resistance anywhere in here and turn around and the market starts heading back down again. So you can play a gap fill, just, take your profits quick. Design Op, good morning. Welcome. Nunez, have you traded an environment like this, the volatility being so high? Yeah, I mean, we've had volatility like this recently, back in here, during this period. That was just a month ago. But if you're talking about the longer term, like the correction, Okay, so we'll get a good test here when the ticks get up to the 0 line. Are there new buyers stepping in to try to fill this gap, or a combination of short covering and new buyers? Or do the sellers begin to pile on? Remember, being below the 0 line is a sign there are more sellers in the market, and being above it is a sign of more buyers. Now, if it's moving from a low up, that means there's more and more buyers getting in. But if it to get and stay above the 0 line, they have to continue. Can they do it? Danielle, good morning. J Trader, thank you for the reminder. Everyone, please smash that like button. Support J Trader's mission to get some more likes. Got 100 people here, 29 likes. We can do better than that. All right, looks like they're trying to fill the gap. Still getting rejected at that 0 line, though. Well, it appears we do not have the buyers here. So if you got in on that shadow trader trade at the opening price with your stop below the low of the day, I'd move it a tick above break even now. Because we're either going to find support here and keep trying to fill the gap, or we're going to pass back through the open again. And then that'll be a little bit bearish. We need to look for new buyers. So we'll have to test the overnight lows again. So either this support holds or we test the overnight low again, I think. And it does not look like we have buyers. Amir, pandemic crash was like that? Yeah, that's true. Those couple of days when people first realized, I can't pull it up on profile because it's too far back, but yeah, those couple of days when people first realized the lockdowns, man, that was crazy. David Cooper, good to see you. David V, welcome as well. Got David Glass, David Cooper, David V. All the Davids there could be. All right, so we're getting bearish here. We're looking for support around the overnight low, but I doubt we get it. If we don't get support at the overnight low, you're looking at a gap and go scenario. Momentum to the downside, bearish market. So we're looking for some continuation. Big Ray, good morning to you. Design knob, the deer mean business today on the queue. Yeah, let's take a look at the queue. What's going on with that? So same scenario, gap and go to the downside. Just now breaking the overnight low. Looks very bearish. They're on like a 15% correction from the all-time high on the queue. Yep, 15.8. It's a bear market, you know. Captain Tiberius back with us. Good morning to you. Welcome. Freddie, good morning to you. Welcome back. Mr. Knife, anything at 42.89. Nothing that jumps out too much of me in terms of support there. I almost think, I hate to say it, I almost think the next support, looking at the regular candlesticks, is down at like 42.47. But for now, we go with momentum. The momentum is to the downside. Gap and go, back below the overnight low. Value is lower. So we're in a short trade, and we're monitoring for continuation. How low can it go? Okay, so for those of you that are trying to learn how to read markets based on volume, what happened this morning? We opened around here. The market tried to push lower. It found support. It tried to fill the gap, ran out of buyers. We see the clear taper in volume up here. Okay, little two-way auction process, broke to the downside. So we have a node of volume right here. Okay, we broke lower, made new lows, broke the overnight low, traded back up into here. And as soon as we started to touch these pink nodes of volume, what happened? We pushed lower. I'm sorry, the red nodes of volume up there. So as soon as we pushed back up into these red nodes, tested them one time, then came down here, and now we're making a new support resistance level right here at the overnight low. So that is the beginning of a trend to the downside. Okay. When the market is rotational, when it's going up and down, the volume will be more towards the middle and faded out on the outside. But when the market is trending, it'll make a node of volume, push lower, make a node of volume, push lower, and so on. So that's what it's starting to do here. And as long as it continues to do that, we stay with that momentum to the downside. Because the market is trending. Nor Auto Trader scalping day. Yeah, the volatility here is insane. You pretty much had to get into the failure to fill the gap. Otherwise, yeah, scalping is the only safe bet. One reason that I find it so important to step back and wait to figure out the market's momentum first before I start taking trades, because whether I'm trying to get into a day trade where I just go short and I monitor for continuation throughout the day, or I'm taking little scalps, just a little bite here, a little bite there, a little bite there. Either way, I want to be going in the direction of the momentum. So I don't want to be trying to go long right now for a scalp back up into resistance. I'm going to wait till we get into resistance and go for the short back down. I want to go in the direction of the momentum. It just has higher probabilities of success. Nunez asks, how does one learn to scalp? One opens a paper trading account and just tries, experiment. Do a 2-to-1 risk reward. Try taking scalps where you have just a few ticks. You have a trade on either end of just a few ticks. Try with a few points. Experiment. See what works for you. The thing about scalping is it's a lot more emotionally difficult. It's draining. It's mentally draining because you have to be constantly on the hunt for a trade every second of the day. And the second you get in one, it has to go your way immediately. So it's very stressful. But in an environment like this, it is a good way to grab some points here or there. Lamus, welcome. Good to see you. Jack says, you feel bearish? I feel tired. Because it's early? Or you feel like the move is tired? Okay, so as we print the B period here, to keep the momentum to the downside going, I'd say we need to find resistance below this overnight low. At the very worst, you could say halfback up here at 43.15.25. If we don't get resistance in there and we're able to get back up into back above that halfback, we may be looking at kind of going sideways here. So to keep the downward momentum, we need to find some resistance in here and start one time framing lower, or get the initial balance going lower. Come on, sellers, keep on pushing. Trended to the downside, you can do it. Okay, so we've now got the initial balance to the downside, and we've got the value area pushing all the way down to the lower end of the distribution here. So that increases the odds. We still need another push lower to create some excess to the downside. So the momentum continues to the downside. Trading Donkey in the house. Welcome, my friend. And he's saying to buy the pass back through the big open for a big squeeze. So he thinks we're going to get a gap fill later in the day. Am I reading that correct? Not right now. Momentum's to the downside. Harry P, long-term outlook, where's the bottom? I will throw that out to the chat. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Where's the bottom on this thing? I'm not great at long-term outcomes. I'm more good at like what's happening right now in the market. That's why I just take day trades. But I pointed out that level for potential support just on horizontal support, right about like 4250-ish, that area. I think we could find some support there. And at some point soon, the market has to go sideways, right? This is all excess to the downside. At some point, we have to balance off that excess. We may balance it off and continue lower, but we need to balance off the amount of excess that we've had. So, for example, look at the excess to the upside. It's about the same size, right? And then look at all this balancing we had to do. We ended up breaking that balance to the downside, but we had to do a lot of balancing once we created this much excess. Well, that's the same amount we just created to the downside. So in terms of longer term outlook, I think short term, we need balance at some point. Where it breaks, we'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, we'll write it down. You got the donkey guess here for the week. He's thinking today might be the low, and that if they are dovish, even a little bit at the FOMC, it'll cause a big short covering rally. All right, as we push into this previous low, the next potential support we got, oh my goodness, well, no support there. Okay, so forget that low. Next target is going to be 42.6750. Could get a little bounce there for some potential support. But because the market is trending lower, we're going to look for what happens if it finds support when it pushes back up into this new node of resistance, right? That's what it does. Build a node, push lower, build a node, push lower. So this will be the next node to test right around 85. But first, a liquidation break. Ugh. Bearish across the boards. Okay, I just noticed we got a level up here at about 97.50. It's only got 85 contracts. That should need to backfill. And once again, we're now looking for resistance in this node up here around 85 to 87-ish, or I guess 88-ish. We're looking for resistance there for continuation of the trend lower. So for the NQ, that resistance is just below that overnight low. I would say between like 14,080 and the overnight low 14, we'll call it 100, 80 to 100. There's your resistance. They need to find resistance there, bring in new sellers if they're going to get continuation lower. The donkey spreading some wisdom down here in the chat. Should say for anyone newer here, when I say I'm bullish from here, I don't mean I'm trying to bottom ticket. I don't really care to grab the first 30 to 50 points of the up move. You'll go broke doing that, and you'll expend all your mental capital. Yeah, meaning every time you try to buy a low thinking, oh, today's going to make the markets low, I got to buy at the absolute lowest tick. Every time you make that buy, you'll be stressed and stressed and stressed, and the market will keep going against you and going against you and going against you because you're fighting the momentum, and you don't want to fight the momentum. So it's better to just wait till there's confirmation and then look for those trades. At the moment, the momentum is still to the downside. Okay, so if the sellers are going to stay in control of the market, they're going to need to keep these ticks down here. They can, kind of push the ticks above the zero line really quickly, but they should get slapped back down if we're going to maintain the momentum to the downside. So seeing how these ticks react to the zero line could be a tell here. And obviously it got rejected, so the momentum is still to the downside. Thank you, market, for the information. All right, they're getting new buyers stepping in here. So I'd say push back up towards halfback, 43.02. Looking for resistance there. In 6 minutes, we print the C period. So we can pretty much treat it like it's not officially one time framing lower, but we could treat it like it is in terms of cessation. If the C period gets back above the B period, we can assume the market's going to go sideways. If we find resistance in this node around halfback and continue to push lower, we're likely to get continuation of that trend into the C period. Lahab is long now, long now, long now. Look for that resistance. It's just above. Gary S. saying, holy, this volatility. Yeah, man. It's moving. Highly recommend trading MES today. CCT, are you saying your Russell is freezed? It's frozen. It's frozed. Well, it is also in a bear market. Oh, yeah, 20%. 20% correction on that one. It is also trending lower on the daily. Although it looks more rotational than the other two. So far this morning. All right, so there's that resistance right around the halfback there. If they're going to keep the momentum to the downside going, this should be a good area to find sellers. So they'll push the ticks back below the zero line. If they can hold it above the zero line until that C period prints, we may go rotational here. Two minutes to the printing of that C. $123 people watching, got 53 likes. If you don't mind just pushing that little thumbs up button, it really helps out the channel. It helps YouTube know they ought to show us to people. that we're all right. One small push of a thumb for you, one giant support for the pirate. Appreciate it. Okay, there comes that resistance. Are they getting those ticks back below the zero line? Yes, they are. So it looks like we're going to be getting some continuation into the C period to the downside. All right, and there is the printing of the C period. Okay. So for those of you that are newer to market profile and the way we look at markets, if we get a trend down, so if this C period pushes lower and gets below that B period low without pushing up and getting above the B period high, that will be a continuation of the trend. And so what we would consider the market doing is what we call one time framing lower. So as long as each 30-minute time period continues to make lower highs, we assume the market will continue to push lower. The reason I bring that up is because we had a gap down today. And often when you get a gap and then you continue in that direction, that's what we call a gap and go. That can lead to a trend day in that direction that can sometimes last for hours and hours and hours. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here. This has kind of a rotational vibe to it to me, but that is the first thing to keep your eye on. Essentially, can we keep each 30-minute high below the previous 30-minute high? You can still assume rotation anywhere in here until we make a new low, though, because we're not officially one time framing until that C period gets below the B period. But keep an eye on the higher lows. As soon as we do make a higher low, that's when the market's likely to just go sideways for the rest of the day. Or if it gets back above the A period high, it might try to fill that gap. But sideways seems more likely. Good luck. Happy trading. If you are a member of the Brigade, I shall see you in the private stream. If not, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you here tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. Please push the like button.